Which one of history's good guys was actually a horrible person? Not necessarily a good guy, but got lots of positive attention from the release of The Greatest Showman. Apparently P.T. Barnum was a terrible person in real life. The Greatest Showman is the film P.T. Barnum would release about himself. I remember someone on our Fixing Movies said the perfect way to end the film would have been to have P.T. Barnum look directly at the camera, saying that's how it really happened, wink, and then cut to credits. Amazing entrepreneur, yes. Hilarious scam artist, also yes. Evil motherfucker, abso-fucking-lutely. Edit. So from some of the replies, he may not have been very evil, but he certainly wasn't the best. Still think he's an absolute mad lad for some of the stuff he put on exhibition. Thomas Edison, biggest monopolist ever and took credit for other people's work. He didn't invent the light bulb but bought the rights and advanced it. He monopolized the film projector and most films at the time, and it took a very long lawsuit to get that fixed. He took many creations from his employees and put his name on it. This wasn't illegal because of the contracts employees signed at the time, but it's not exactly a sign of goodwill. I don't hate the guy, but his character is often completely exaggerated. Thomas Edison and Henry Ford's winter homes are in my city. As soon as students are in 3rd grade, all the schools would bring us to their homes and really try to make you believe both of them were good people. In some aspects to the 60s and 70s when the Beatles were icons. I'm talking about John Lennon. People who use his image and face for peace sometimes forget important details. He abused women, he was a cheater, he abused his children, made one go completely deaf in one ear, total hypocrite on the no possessions when he lived one of the most lavish lifestyles of his time, compulsive liar, almost killed a few people. Look up Bob Wooler. He was almost punched to death by John. There were others, but their stories have either been disputed or unclaimed. So whenever I see a bunch of people sing Imagine, I just shake my head in shame, cause so many people don't even know how bad he was but act like he was a son. Alfred Hitchcock was an asshole sexual predator. Tippi Hedren wrote about it in her memoir. https://www.usaturday.com/story/life/Tippi-Hedren-alfred-hitchcock-the-birds-money-tippi/9306443// She did say he was a brilliant filmmaker, so you can be both. Luckily, no other famous directors were sexual predators. I've been roaming around this thread looking for this reference. In this thread, a lot of people who were never considered good guys. Unpopular opinion. Dog lover and inter Adolf Hitler did some pretty questionable stuff in the 30s. Really changed his ways in the 40s though. Even killed a genocidal dictator. Elvis Presley. He never wrote a song in his life, but his record label made any songwriters hand over half of their writing fees before Elvis would record their songs. He's credited as a co-writer on the majority of his songs. That's why Dolly Parton refused to let him record I Will Always Love You. She wouldn't sign away any of the songwriting credit or future profits from her work. She's a savvy businesswoman. He also began his relationship with Priscilla when she was 14 years old. He was 10 years older. Winston Churchill edit. Holy cow, so many awards. Thank you all. Second edit. Over 2,000 comma. Wow. Morally and ethically a bastard, but a damn good wartime leader. I wouldn't want anything to do with him in peacetime, but he had a good grasp of strategy and the type of modern warfare that was developed in World War I and honed in World War II. Not defending his other sides, it's definitely a good thing that he wasn't a ruler in peacetime. Definitely a fascinating historical figure though. Charlie Chaplin. He got married to a 15-year-old girl because he got her pregnant when she was 14. He was openly pedophile and, from what I've read, quite an asshole. Apparently, he and Marlon Brando worked together later on, and Charlie was such an uptight asshole that Marlon Brando, of all people, had to tell him to chill the hell out. Brando, for what it's worth, is infamous for demanding ridiculous concessions from directors for his performances, refusing to learn his lines, and a number of other things. Young Gandhi was racist. 2 random quotes from him. General belief seems to prevail in the colony that the Indians are a little better, if at all, than savages or the natives of Africa. About the mixing of the Kaffirs with the Indians, I must confess I feel most strongly. Edit. Fixed spelling and added young, as Mena correctly point out he changed as he grew older and grew wiser. Most of them. I don't know about other countries, but in America schools tend to put historical figures on high pedestals. It would be better to be upfront about how people did good things and terrible things. This is a little more niche. Big Bill Wilson. the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. The guy did great things and created a program of recovery that has saved millions of lives since its inception 85 years ago. He was also an arrogant asshole that cheated on his wife even in sobriety. Edit. This isn't here to scare away anyone that's trying to get sober. I've been sober thanks to AA for 2 years. So don't let this keep you away if you're struggling with your drinking. Alexander Graham Bell. This man did not invent the telephone. Several people were working on similar technology at the same time. Antonio Meucci invented it first, but there was a court case over who got the patent rights. Meucci died before the case was settled, and Graham Bell won the glory he didn't deserve. Bell was also a eugenicist who sought to end sign language in schools and wanted to ban deaf people from marrying each other. He was a staunch oralist, and the repercussions of his actions are still being felt in society today through such audist institutions like the Bell Institute. Tony Soprano knew this and went apeshit over it at the dinner table. Most Australians think Captain Cook was a pretty good dude. I think the Aboriginals would say otherwise. IDK man. When I read about Martin Luther last year, I thought he was kinda cool as he created the Protestant branch of Christianity, but I recently read about what he thought of Jews, and yikes. For those of you who don't know, he got pissed when the Jews didn't want to convert to his religion and started being anti-Semitic as fuck. He wrote a whole book on Jews and their lies and said that he urged others to burn down synagogues to prove their loyalty to Christianity. He also wanted the Jewish prayer books to be taken away from them, edit, because of misunderstandings. I do not mean Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther was a monk during the 16th century who initially started the Reformation for Christianity and was the founder of Protestantism. I misread and thought it said Martin Luther King Jr. and I was shocked. LMAO. So glad you said this. I thought the same thing. Tinkerbell. Everybody thinks she was so cute and such a good friend to Peter, but she was a jealous psychopath and tried to murder Wendy several times. Depends on what you mean. Judging by today's standards, I'd say most historical good guys were horrible people. Judging by the standards of their era, things become more complicated. Yeah, even abolitionists back in the day may have been against slavery, but that didn't mean they thought blacks should be treated equally. Since most have been covered, I'll do a guy who was a true fucking villain who turned into kind of a decent guy. It doesn't nearly wipe the slate clean, but it's an interesting historical transformation. Nathan Bedford Forrest. Slave trader, Confederate general, likely war criminal, first Grand Wizard of the Klan. In later years, Forrest expressed regret at his life's work. He began publicly advocating for former slaves to receive better treatment, including their ability to enter into higher education. He attempted to act upon his shame by petitioning President Grant to allow him to put down the KKK by force. Edit. My caveat wasn't strong enough, and that might be my own clumsy wording. Forrest was undoubtedly a monster in some ways, and his legacy as one shouldn't be altered, despite his regrets. At least he made the attempt to redeem himself. If we cannot change as a person after our mistakes, however diabolical, then what is the point? Might as well just go murderin'. A shorter list would be which of history's good guys were truly good guys and not later found out to be completed $$ holes. Edit. Thank you for the award, stranger. I don't really know what else to say, so, thank you. Curly from the Three Stooges. Typically having several dogs at any given time, Curly was known to come home often with strays he found along his travels. He would foster the strays until he was able to find new homes, and when the Stooges were on tour, Curly made it a point to rehome at least one stray in each town they visited. It is estimated that Curly saved and rehomed more than 5,000 dogs in his lifetime, making him a man before his time with his humane concern for man's best friend. This makes me so happy. I love it so much. Thank you. Which of history's bad guys were actually good guys would be an interesting one. Which of history's bad guys were actually good guys would be an interesting one. Brave New World makes a whole lot more sense now. There's a statue of Oliver Cromwell in London. Loads of movies about him and how he was a brave revolutionary. Nah, fuck that. He was an evil sociopath who committed genocide on Irish Catholics and turned the UK into a Puritan dictatorship. I'm amazed statues stand. I thought he has been hated by the general populace pretty consistently since he took power. After the monarchy restoration, the people hated him so much that they dug his corpse back up to posthumously execute him. Who decided it was a good idea to erect statues of him? MLK was a preacher and a critical part of our nation's civil rights movement. He also fucked a lot of hoes while being married. Nothing is black and white. People are complicated and flawed. Sir John A. Macdonald, first Prime Minister of Canada. Did a lot for the country in its infancy but treated indigenous people like garbage. Notorious drunker too. Once, when debating his opponent, he vomited on stage and quipped, "I get sick, not because of drink, but because I am forced to listen to the ranting of my honorable opponent." Ned Kelly is neat, because he seems to have recognized his anti-hero status. His actions were never morally right, but it's hard to say we haven't ever wanted to do the same. IDK, I feel like a lot of Ned Kelly's actions were justified if you take his accounts as opposed to the policemen he dealt with. The truth is likely somewhere in between. There's no excuse for his early theft, but those wouldn't make him a horrible person by today's standards. He was a criminal turned outlaw turned national hero revolutionary. Sure, he stole and murdered, but he was a product of his upbringing in the state of Australia at the time. Bob Marley. And there's a very good story to back this up that also explains how he grew to be #1 reggae singer of Jamaica. He had a posse of friends that would intimidate radio networks of Jamaica into playing his music, as well as destroying the alpha discs of other newer artists. IDKWTF, they're called, but the copy the radio networks were given in order to play on the air. He might have been trying to promote feel-good music and peace and all that, but he was a thug when it came to getting that music out. https www.google.com www.bastonherald.com. The 20th of April 2012. Marley fails to stir it up and at the same time gave a dude songwriting credit so that he'd get royalties from the music and be able to keep his soup kitchen open. People are so weird. Bully one guy, help another, rape his wife, help a guy keep his soup kitchen open. Fuck. While he almost certainly wasn't the first to say it, Lord Acton once observed that great men are almost always bad men. Pluck any great man from history, those rare figures about whom the story of the human race seems to turn, and you find a monster who changed the world, probably without even intending to do so. It's my estimation that every man ever got a statue made of him was one kind of a son of a bitch or another. Malcolm Reynolds. Yep, I hate reading about my heroes, because really quickly, they lose their hero status. Jebediah Springfield, or his real less commonly known name, Hans Sprungfield the murderous pirate. You're banned from this thread, you and your children, and your children's children, for 3 months. Alexander Graham Bell pushed for the eugenics of deaf and hard of hearing people and was a major obstacle to fund schools for the deaf, which thankfully did persist despite us of shat. Joseph P. Kennedy, dad of John, Bobby, and Teddy, had one of his daughters lobotomized. She was likely autistic but was considered an embarrassment to the family. Rosemary Kennedy was never considered autistic. When her mother, Rose Kennedy, was giving birth to Rosemary, the doctor wasn't available, and Rose was told to keep her legs closed until the doctor arrived. Baby Rosemary was in the birth canal for about 2 hours, being deprived of oxygen the whole time, which resulted in severe learning disabilities. Yes, he was a horrible person. I think he was the true curse of the Kennedy family. Besides poor Rosemary, he disowned his eldest daughter for who she was marrying. He was anti-Semitic. He was a womanizer who cheated on his wife numerous times, and he was a power-hungry arrogant ass. John Lennon, violent whiffer-beater, vicious and hateful little shitbag. He used to scream at his baby boy when he was crying because it distracted him. Wrote Imagine speaking about dreaming of no possessions. From his multi-million-dollar condo overlooking Central fucking Park in NYC. Didn't speak to George Harrison for months after he published his autobiography because it didn't praise Lennon quite enough for his taste. Absolute piece of shit. Edit 1. Hot damn. This blew up like the 4th of July at Chernobyl. Thank you all for your comments and opinions. For those who don't believe me, please do not take my word for it. Read his Wikipedia page. All of it. Check out Julian Lennon's interview about his father and how he was treated. Be safe out there, everyone. Don't forget he essentially ended his marriage by lounging around nude with Yoko, who was wearing his wife's robe, when the wife and kids got back from vacation. His response? Oh, hello.